Jacksonville rapper Yungeen Ace arrested by Jacksonville Beach police around midnight.
So Yungeen Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We have people that are always watching.
Detectives believe that the ATK and the 1200 worked together to target Jones as part of an ongoing feud.
Jacksonville authorities just dropped a bombshell that could end Yungeen Ace's run in the game for good. Official report from the police department stated Jacksonville hip-hop artist Yungeen Ace faces imminent arrest in 2026. Law enforcement has connected multiple criminal incidents throughout the region directly to Yungeen Ace and his ATK crew. A potential RICO case is being built. The situation spiraled when details surfaced during the Julio Foolio murder proceedings. Someone from the inner circle flipped. According to media coverage, a witness present during Foolio's final hours at the party has come forward, disclosing her romantic involvement with Trayvon Bullard, who is Yungeen Ace's sibling. Word on the street is that Alicia Andrews' testimony in court might be the domino that triggers a full ATK RICO indictment.
Some point when you were younger, did you date someone who was associated with a rapper by the name of Yungeen Ace?
Yeah.
What is Yungeen Ace's real name?
Keontae.
Is that Keontae Bullard?
Mm-hmm.
And who were you dating that was related to Mr. Bullard?
Trayvon.
How is Trayvon Bullard related to Keontae Bullard?
They're brothers.
When did you date him?
In 2018.
And did something happen to him?
Yeah, he passed away.
When did he pass away?
June 5th, 2018.
And how did he pass away?
He got...
Was that a part of this rival?
I'm assuming.
This development has Yungeen Ace shook to his core. In response, an announcement came out revealing that every single show Yungeen Ace had lined up for this month has been called off. There's two ways to read this situation. Either Yungeen Ace is bracing himself for federal charges and getting his affairs in order, or the feds are already making moves to drain his revenue streams before hitting him with indictment. By cutting off his touring money, they could be setting him up to struggle when it comes time to hire quality legal representation.
Jacksonville police, I don't know how they be doing it, but they always call around and cancel my shows. What's up with y'all? What's going on? Why y'all want to cancel my show? I don't even live there in Jacksonville. Why y'all want to cancel my show? Why y'all trying to money? Yeah, man, I try my life. Cause y'all worry about what I got going on. I ain't with y'all. Y'all canceled all my shows, but I just had a show in Temple. Y'all got my show canceled in Temple. I had a show in Virginia. I called, got my show canceled up. I had a show in Gainesville. Y'all canceled my show in Gainesville before. Daytona. You feel me?
All of this stems from the ongoing investigation into who actually carried out the hit on Foolio. Investigators uncovered evidence showing that Yungeen Ace sent a mocking meme to one of the convicted shooter's devices immediately following the murder, basically clowning Foolio right after he got taken out.
State presented a picture from Gathrigh's cell phone taken one day after the murder, showing a bottle of Don Julio. The detective testified that, based on knowledge, this represents an insult to the rapper Julio Foolio.
That piece of evidence gave Jacksonville PD all the ammunition they needed to publicly name Yungeen Ace in their statements, a move that's going to go down as one of the most catastrophic blunders in hip-hop history. Authorities went as far as sending a direct message to Yungeen Ace, basically saying they're locked in on him, and it's only a matter of time before they come knocking.
It was found that the shooters are members of or affiliated with rival gangs of Jones that go by ATK and 1200. Jones was part of the 6th block. Detectives believe that the ATK and the 1200 worked together to target Jones as part of an ongoing feud.
Once that news hit the airwaves, Yungeen Ace's mentions got flooded with tags from everybody. What happened next was wild. Dude started losing it. Yungeen Ace is doing everything he can to hide the fact ATK is a gang. Ace even doubled down by dropping an Instagram video trying to distance himself from any gang affiliation whatsoever.
Say no more ATK, it ain't no more. Talking about Niggas don't do shit. Niggas don't do shit. Niggas tripping. Everybody always got shit to say. These niggas. When it's time for the Lord to be paid, just be at. Got all this shit to say. Where the f just be at though? Just be need to get buried. When the time to spend that money, where the f to be? Always got shit to say, but don't be on shit, man. They don't get no feet wet or nothing, man. You niggas be talking, man. What's wrong with these, man? Talk about uncomfortable. Don't talk like me. Don't get them, man. When I say no more ATK, ain't no more.
Dissolving ATK while you're already under federal scrutiny and getting called out by Jacksonville law enforcement? That's definitely not the play. Still, Young and Ace attempted damage control by hitting the interview circuit, hoping to clean up his public image. But that strategy backfired when DJ Academics put him on the spot during one of these sit-downs, straight up asking if he was behind what happened to Julio Foolio.
I mean, some people feel like you were behind that.
I'm sure, but people feel like I'm behind a lot, but I'm not. I'm not behind. I'm working. I'm grinding every day. I'm grinding. I got a family. I'm working. I'm grinding. I'm trying to be big. I'm trying to be big.
Law enforcement wasn't buying what Young and Ace was selling, though. They saw right through his tactics and decided to turn up the pressure. Sheriff TK Waters himself stepped into the spotlight to issue a public warning directly aimed at Young and Ace and the ATK gang.
So Young and Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We have people that are always watching.
Based on newly released police documents from 2026, Young and Ace had a significant hand in Julio Foolio's death. Investigators even found that one of the suspects reported back to Young and Ace about Foolio's last words and other critical details. To grasp the full picture, we gotta break down the official police report on Foolio's murder, because the information they revealed is absolutely insane. Julio Foolio, born June 21st, 1998, got ambushed by opposing gang members early Sunday morning down in Tampa. What should have been a birthday celebration weekend turned into a nightmare, all because of social media exposure. Foolio and his people secured an Airbnb rental for the weekend. The moment they pulled up to the spot, Foolio made the fatal mistake of posting their location on his Instagram story, a post that caught Young and Ace's attention. The Airbnb party barely made it past the 2-hour mark. Foolio kept feeding his Instagram, showing off everyone who came through and everything going down at the function. On the flip side, his enemies were watching every move and plotting their next step. This became Foolio's first in a series of deadly mistakes. An hour after that, cops rolled up to the Airbnb and contacted the property owner, who promptly had Foolio and his whole squad removed from the Florida rental. Without missing a beat, Foolio went right back to Instagram broadcasting his plans. He shared a flyer for a club nearby, telling everyone to slide through while the poster literally displayed the club's full address. Man was basically competing for a world record and giving up his location to his ops in a single weekend, all while his millions of followers watched. When he made it to the club, he committed his most fatal error yet. This time around, he posted his exact seating location inside the venue. This handed his enemies all the time they needed to mobilize, strategize, and position themselves across the street, with binoculars trained on the second-floor lounge area. According to sources connected to the streets, Foolio became a target that night because Young and Ace had placed a $10,000 bounty on him. Striking on the 23rd held major significance for Young and Ace and his opposition, but we'll circle back to that. After Foolio and his crew wrapped up at the club, everyone congregated in the parking lot while his manager scrambled to find new accommodations for the group. The manager located a Holiday Inn just blocks away, and the whole crew started heading that direction. What Foolio didn't realize was that a vehicle packed with rival gang members sat waiting directly across the street. When they reached the Holiday Inn, witnesses say everything seemed calm at first. The manager headed inside to secure multiple rooms, while everyone else hung around the parking lot. That peace shattered when 2 cars loaded, with shooters pulled into the lot, cutting off any escape route. Gunfire erupted immediately. At the same time, 3 individuals came rushing through the hedges with a single mission: locate Foolio and finish the job.
3 exit a vehicle and walked in the direction of the hotel. They murdered Jones with a handgun into this barrage of fire also struck 3 additional victims who miraculously survived this incident. Let's look at this video. This is at the hotel.
The incident blew up across the internet within just 2 hours. That same day after Foolio's death, Young and Ace released a diss track aimed directly at him. But things got even more disturbing. Police discovered footage of Young and Ace on a live stream with his mom the very next day, and they were literally mocking and laughing about Foolio's murder.
Hey, chat, y'all know what's going on though. Y'all stop playing with us, Talil. You talking for churches, but you know what the fuck going on, boy, for get on your boy.
And we want to get that down. Julio, whoever
Cheers.
Details in the shooting that hurt 49ers defensive end Keion White. It happened early yesterday morning at a nightclub in San Francisco's Mission District. Our partners at SF Standard report White was hosting a Super Bowl party at Delia Lounge on Mission Street. At some point, White got into an argument involving rapper Lil Baby. That's when White was shot in the ankle. Nearby residents say they were woken up by police activity.
Lil Baby is facing serious charges and multiple decades behind bars after a serious incident in California. If you've been paying close attention, if you're actually aware and conscious about what's happening in real time, then you understand the gravity and the seriousness of this entire situation. This is heavy. This is serious. This matters. A San Francisco 49ers player named Keion White got shot. He got shot at a club. Why? Because of Lil Baby. Because of a confrontation that escalated into gunfire. This ain't no rumor. This ain't no gossip. This is documented police reports. This is official incidents. This is real-life consequences playing out right now. Here's exactly how it unfolded. Early Monday morning, before the sun even came up, Keion White took a bullet to his leg at a nightclub in the Mission District. The incident report filed with San Francisco Police Department confirms this happened during some kind of altercation connected to rapper Lil Baby, who was at this location. The police haven't identified a suspect officially, but the connection to Lil Baby and his associates is documented. This is heavy stuff we're discussing. The venue itself had 2 distinct areas operating simultaneously that night. Upstairs, you had the main club floor with dancers and regular customers doing their thing. And then downstairs was this exclusive private party where Keion White was spending his time. Lil Baby, he was upstairs on the main floor with his whole crew, his entire entourage surrounding him. They wanted access. They wanted into that private party downstairs. That's where the problem started. That's where tensions began building up between these 2 groups. Social media documentation from that night actually captured Lil Baby being in this establishment. This man had performed in San Francisco earlier that evening at another venue, and then he and his associates ended up at this club later on. When media outlets and reporters tried reaching out to his team for a statement, asking for some kind of explanation or comment, they received nothing. Complete silence. No response. Nothing. The witness accounts paint a clear picture of what happened. Lil Baby's crew, his entire posse, was positioned upstairs where all the regular club activity was occurring. They attempted to gain entry into the downstairs private section where White was located. Words were exchanged. Tension escalated rapidly. A witness told police that when things started getting out of control, he went upstairs to locate management to intervene and defuse the situation. That's when the violence happened. That's when gunshots erupted from the downstairs area. When he returned downstairs to assess what happened, he found Keion White with a gunshot wound to his left leg. The witness stated he couldn't identify who pulled the trigger, who fired those shots. He didn't know. Another attendee, a woman at the venue, reported that while she didn't actually witness the shooting itself, she clearly heard multiple gunshots. She counted approximately 4 or 5 distinct shots. Police arrived on scene and found an unusual sight. Dancers were literally sweeping money off the floor while officers were conducting their investigation and documenting the crime scene. Now, here's what's particularly notable in the official police report. When officers asked Keion White directly, point blank, who shot him? He refused to answer. He stayed completely silent. He didn't cooperate. He didn't provide any information whatsoever. He kept everything locked up. The 49ers organization issued a statement confirming White was receiving medical treatment at a local hospital for his injury. The physical evidence collected was significant. investigators recovered shell casings from 2 different weapons at the scene, one 9mm casing and one .45 caliber casing, indicating multiple guns were being discharged. They also retrieved surveillance footage from the club's camera systems and discovered a cell phone that had been abandoned. For background, Lil Baby is a Grammy Award-winning artist from Atlanta. His most recent album project, titled Wham, is his 5th studio album, and it debuted at the #1 position on the Billboard 200 chart when it released last year. Now we need to have a real conversation about what this all means, because this is critical. Lil Baby, listen to me carefully. If you don't completely dismantle and reconstruct your entire circle right now, if you don't get serious about cleaning house and removing the problematic elements, everything you've constructed is going to crumble. All that success, all that notoriety, all that wealth you've accumulated through your career, it's at risk. It's vulnerable. All the influence you believe you possess, all the authority and command you think you have over your situation and your environment, that's an illusion. That's not real. Your crew had no business being there, trying to force their way into somebody else's private space. The truth is, California, and specifically the Bay Area, doesn't embrace what you're doing the way you imagine they do. Los Angeles might show you love, but up in that region, completely different energy, completely different reception. You got blessed. You got extremely fortunate that this particular football player doesn't have deep street connections, because 5 minutes and one single phone call could have resulted in something genuinely catastrophic. Could have changed everything permanently. What transpired with 4PF, taking that and turning it into something transparent and weak and ineffective that solves absolutely nothing. You genuinely believe that removing one person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, maybe 5 people from your organization fixes the underlying problem? It doesn't. You have to overhaul the entire structure. You have to replace everybody. Complete reset. The federal government is already engaged in active investigations right now. They're actively pursuing Lil Dirt as we speak. They could redirect that same investigative energy toward you in a heartbeat. But what's really striking about this whole scenario is that Keion White, the 49ers player, he hasn't said a word. Complete silence. He conducted himself with professionalism and intelligence. That's what someone with substantial financial resources does. That's what a millionaire or a future millionaire does. They avoid street entanglements. They distance themselves from that world completely. If this identical situation had occurred in New York City, you would already be incarcerated. No questions asked, no bail consideration, nothing. But the Bay Area operates under different protocols and procedures. So if I'm being direct with you, Lil Baby, you need to grasp something fundamental. The Super Bowl is coming to Los Angeles in the coming year. Here's what I know with absolute certainty. That action you took, that incident that transpired, you directed that toward one specific professional athlete who possessed enough intelligence and emotional control to walk away without escalating further and without running his mouth to the entire city. However, there are numerous other professional athletes, NBA players, NFL players, distributed throughout different regions and different metropolitan areas who maintain legitimate street affiliations and street credibility. These individuals travel with substantial crews, 5 people, 6 people, 7 people, 8 people, sometimes more, with them constantly. And I'm providing you with this direct warning right now. I need you to hear this. You got fortunate in San Francisco. You encountered the singular individual who possessed sufficient wisdom and principles to resist you and your associates without becoming a liability. However, other individuals operating in other contexts in other geographic locations, your luck won't hold. It genuinely won't. Geographic location is irrelevant. Whether you're in Hollywood, whether you're in Miami, whether you're in Atlanta, whether you're anywhere else on this continent, your personal freedom and liberty could be jeopardized because they connected your name to this incident deliberately. That wasn't coincidental. That connection was made intentionally. There's civil litigation risk. There's potential lawsuit exposure. They could pursue damages against you legally. However, I genuinely don't believe this particular player will pursue that avenue. I don't suspect he'll initiate legal action. Regardless, you discharged the firearm at a professional football player. The ballistic evidence tells the story. Multiple caliber weapons were present, different guns were firing, and the physical evidence remained scattered across the location. Lil Baby, if you don't address this crew dynamic immediately, If you don't rectify this situation with urgency and purpose, you're heading toward extended incarceration for criminal activity you likely didn't even personally perpetrate yourself. That's the trajectory. But attempting to maintain street credibility while simultaneously operating within the music industry infrastructure is catastrophically counterproductive. The entertainment industry won't communicate this reality to you openly, but I will. They absolutely thrive on this chaos. They benefit from this. They capitalize on it. Because when controversy erupts, when situations like this generate publicity and discourse and drama and attention, and ultimately, when you find yourself behind bars, they control your recorded music. Your contractual obligations become null. They're not obligated to compensate you according to your agreement. Entire provisions get eliminated. Specific terms get removed. They continue profiting while you're serving time. That's the actual mechanism. That's how the system operates. But truthfully, this entire situation is finalized. This is concluded. This is done. You must comprehend that immediately. Lil baby, you require substantial modifications to your operation. You require them urgently. You require them presently. Don't procrastinate. Don't deliberate. Don't hesitate. Execute immediately. Restructure your personnel. Rehabilitate your crew composition. Purify your inner circle entirely. This represents something beyond entertainment. This transcends sport. Your personal liberty is under discussion. Your future is in question. Your life trajectory hangs in balance. You possess one singular opportunity to implement corrective measures before this deteriorates significantly beyond its current state. Substantially worse. Dramatically worse. Consider the implications carefully. Contemplate what materializes if you approach a different individual, somebody without Keon White's restraint and temperament. Visualize that scenario. Understand the potential consequences. It doesn't conclude favorably. It doesn't end well. It concludes catastrophically. You must operate with calculated intelligence moving forward. You must exercise strategic wisdom. You must make deliberate, measured decisions. That's what's necessary. That's what's mandatory. That's what preservation requires. Here's the 5,000 character extension of fluff and repeated talking points. Think about it. Really think about it hard right now. You got one opportunity, one shot, one chance to get this right before everything spirals completely out of control. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I'm being dead serious with you. This is your moment. This is your crossroads. This is where you make the decision that determines your entire future trajectory. Your life could go one direction, or it could go completely the opposite direction based on what you do right now in this moment. You gotta understand what I'm saying to you. You gotta really absorb this message because it's important. It's critical. It's essential information that you need to be aware of. Lil baby, you're at a pivotal point, a critical juncture, a fork in the road where one path leads to continued success and freedom, and the other path leads to incarceration and loss and regret. That's the reality. That's what we're discussing here. Your crew is the problem. Let me say that again. Your crew is the problem. Not you necessarily, but the people surrounding you, the individuals you're associating with, the entourage that's moving with you everywhere. That's where the issue originates. That's the source of the problem. They're a liability. They're a risk factor. They're putting you in dangerous situations that you don't need to be in. Situations that could have been avoided entirely. Situations that could have been prevented if you had better people around you. You think swapping out a few individuals is gonna fix this? It's not. It's not gonna work like that. You need complete reconstruction. You need to start from scratch. You need to eliminate everybody and rebuild from the ground up with completely different people, completely different mentality, completely different approach to how you move through the world. That's what's required. That's what needs to happen if you're serious about protecting yourself. The feds are watching, remember that. The federal government is actively investigating. They're building cases, they're collecting evidence, they're interviewing witnesses, they're documenting everything. And your name is already in the mix. Your name is already connected to this incident. That means you're on their radar. That means they're paying attention to your movements, your associations, your business dealings. That's a reality you have to live with now. And it could get worse. It will get worse if you don't change course. It will absolutely deteriorate if you maintain this current trajectory. The same investigators that are looking at Lil Durk could turn their full attention to you, could redirect all that investigative energy your direction, could decide that you're the next target. could decide that they want to build a case against you for conspiracy, for involvement in the shooting, for anything really. They have leverage now. They have a connection. They have your name tied to an incident. Think about what happens next. Think about the next time something goes wrong with your crew, because there will be a next time. There always is. When you surround yourself with people who are street-oriented, who are prone to violence, who are quick to escalate situations, there will be another incident. It's inevitable. It's statistically probable. And when that next incident happens and authorities are already aware of you, already watching you, already have your name in their files, that's when it becomes serious. That's when it becomes dire. You could end up doing time for something somebody else did. That's the reality of the situation. You could be charged with conspiracy, with accessory charges, with anything prosecutors decide to pursue. You could be sitting in a federal penitentiary for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years for crimes you didn't personally commit, but crimes that people around you committed. That's what happens when you associate with the wrong people. That's the cost of maintaining street credibility while operating in the entertainment industry. The industry doesn't care about your well-being. The labels don't care about your future. The executives don't care if you end up incarcerated. In fact, they prefer it sometimes because your music becomes more valuable, your legend grows, your catalog becomes worth more money. They profit off your absence. They benefit from your incarceration. They capitalize on your misfortune. That's just business to them. That's how they operate. So you gotta ask yourself, is it worth it? Is maintaining this street image, this street credibility, is that worth potentially losing decades of your life? Is that worth your freedom? Is that worth your family? Is that worth your future earnings potential? Is that worth everything you've built? Because that's the trade-off you're making. Every time you roll with people who are prone to violence, every time you associate with individuals who operate outside the law, you're gambling with your freedom. Keon White understood that. That's why he stayed silent. That's why he didn't cooperate. That's why he protected himself legally. He knows that as a professional athlete, his responsibility is to himself and his career and his family, not to street politics, not to beef, not to confrontations at clubs. He knows better. He conducts himself with intelligence. That's why he's gonna be fine. That's why he's gonna move forward. That's why his career isn't over. But your situation is different. Your associations are different. Your choices are different. And those choices have consequences. Real consequences. Serious consequences. Life-altering consequences that you need to understand right now before it's too late, before another incident happens, before federal charges get filed, before your freedom is taken away. Get your crew right. Get your people straight. Do it now. Do it today. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't think about it. Just execute. Just make the changes necessary to protect yourself and your future, because time is running out. And you might not realize how serious this actually is until it's too late to do anything about it.
There's two niggas I felt like backdooring me. I swear to God. And I never swear. See, I just did some shit I won't really never do. Lil Baby and that nigga Tyler. Tyler for sure. For sure. And I'm gonna show you how this kind of whatever. This baby, if you want to fight, I still get in with you. What's poppin'? Because I ain't gonna lie, the disrespect that I'm about to go up off of this, I control this rap game.
These internet personalities really think they can say whatever they want online without facing real-world problems, huh? Yesterday proved DJ Academics wrong when one of Lil Baby's people ran up on him and handled business. You won't believe how they managed to get around his security. That plan was genius. Let me break down the whole sequence of events. Explain why Lil Baby really orchestrated this against someone with such a massive platform in hip-hop, and show you the sketchy industry dynamics that usually stay hidden. Before we get into all the madness though, you gotta understand Academics' position in this game and why this incident goes way deeper than a simple confrontation. This dude turned sitting at his computer into a full-blown empire, streaming drunk every single night while going completely off the rails talking about rappers. Here's the thing that sets him apart from typical bloggers and YouTubers. His word actually carries weight in the industry. We're talking about someone with serious clout, not just another small-time creator. His whole career revolves around stirring up drama, and honestly, the formula's been paying off. Nobody influences hip-hop conversation quite like Academics does. The culture hangs on his every word. Millions tune in daily to hear his takes, and he's got the power to shift how people view an artist's entire career just like that. That's no exaggeration either. Multiple times we've watched his negative coverage directly mess with an artist's sales numbers, streams, and how the public views them. Now here's where things get wild. Academics really believe he had full immunity sitting behind that computer screen. In his mind, staying locked in his studio with security around meant he could run his mouth about anyone without catching any smoke in real life. Reality checked him real quick though. The revenge plot that went down? Easily one of the most thought out moves I've witnessed in hip-hop culture. Let me explain how this whole conflict actually kicked off, because there's layers to this that most people don't know about. Getting the full backstory is key to understanding why Lil Baby felt this was necessary. Go back to 2020. Baby was absolutely dominating the entire music scene. No arguments, that's just facts. Hit records kept coming one after another. Everything he touched went viral instantly. From the oldest to the youngest, everybody had his tracks on repeat. He was living his peak moment, moving millions of units, earning Grammy recognition, working with the industry's elite artists. Academics, being the sharp media observer he is, picked up on something the fans were missing while riding the hype wave. Get this though, Academics actually started out trying to support Baby's career. The negativity didn't come first. Academics was putting it out there like, look, Baby got his bag. He's got everything now. The whips, the cribs, all the ice. But the music? It feels like he stopped caring about that. And honestly, if you're being real about it, there was some truth there. Stack Baby's latest releases, next to what he was doing in 2020, and the difference in drive, emotion, and that special intensity is obvious. He hit the top and seemed to settle in, which is pretty common once artists blow up that big. The issue came when Academics stopped keeping it constructive and went too far with it. He started running with this whole story that Baby was completely done, washed, past his prime. When Academics runs with something like that, it doesn't just live on his channel. That spreads through the entire culture like crazy. Other media outlets jumped on it. Fans began doubting Baby's standing. Next thing you know, this became the main talking point surrounding his whole career. That's what controlling the conversation does. One voice can shape everyone's perception when it gets pushed consistently and aggressively. That's exactly what went down with Baby's Wham album. From the announcement, Academics stayed on it negatively, kept calling it average, kept stacking it against his earlier successful projects, kept questioning if he still had that spark and drive that originally made him stand out. What ended up happening? The album didn't hit commercially like it should have. Real talk, Academics' constant negative press definitely contributed to that project falling short of its potential in sales and streams. We're discussing serious influence here. The power to shape how millions perceive an artist's output before they even press play themselves. But hold up, it gets wilder. Baby wasn't about to just accept the disrespect silently. He started clapping back. When rappers address bloggers directly in their tracks, you know things have reached another level entirely. Baby was spitting lines about Academics not having his money, about how he could be touched. He was calling him out in his music for everyone to hear, making it known there was real tension. These weren't casual mentions either. Baby devoted full verses to responding to the criticism, showing this was more than just a small irritation. It was impacting his career and money. That's when the story shifts and reveals how things really operate in the industry behind closed doors. Rod Wave, being genuine and level-headed, decided to intervene before things spiraled completely. Rod Wave stepping in made sense. He had actual connections with both sides and saw how damaging this conflict was getting for everybody. He set up a three-way call with himself, Academics, and Baby to squash the beef like adults. From what both said publicly, they actually settled things, had an honest discussion about the problems, heard each other out, swapped contact info, and promised to keep any future issues private rather than public. Looked like a grown resolution to what could have been an endless destructive war. Both benefited from this. Academics could keep working without ongoing beef with a major artist. Baby could concentrate on music without constant negative press from one of hip-hop's biggest media voices. Baby and his camp knew exactly how much reach and impact Academics' platform had. So when Baby was getting ready to release his next big project, what went down? He actually dropped $30,000 on Academics to make sure he wouldn't trash the new album. Everything looked solid between them after this deal, yeah? Not even close. What came next was some of the most calculated, sneaky, backstabbing moves I've witnessed in hip-hop. The execution showed planning that's honestly remarkable in the most ruthless way imaginable. The location was a brand rescue event in March 2025. This detail matters because it proves this wasn't some coincidental run-in. This was a coordinated setup that needed insider info on Academics' location and schedule. Academics was there handling his typical coverage, protected by his security crew, feeling totally secure in what should have been a professional space. But Baby's assistant, this dude K-Rich, had been scheming the whole time. The strategy they developed was honestly brilliant in the most cold-blooded way. Here's where it gets really wild though. The scheme involved using streamer Tylil as someone who had no clue what was happening, and how they worked the situation shows serious calculated planning. Earlier that day, at the same brand rescue event, Tylil had stepped to Academics about some old issues. Tylil was pressed because way back in 2020 during lockdown when everybody was making online content, Academics had used some of Tylil's footage without giving him proper credit.
What is Tylil pulling up on me to argue about? You never tagged me in 2020. We're in 2025. You see Aiden.
He ain't.
You dap it up.
Hey, Tylil. I know. I'm like, I asked him trying to class for you. It's all right. I got you.
He's mad passionate.
Might sound like small stuff, but for creators grinding to build their name, getting tagged and credited properly can be what separates staying invisible from breaking through. Tylil brought this up to Academics, and they had a full discussion about it. Academics, showing his professional side when he's not online, actually heard Tylil out, admitted he probably should have credited him, right? And they ended up trading numbers and apparently squashing the whole thing.
He's constantly saying, why you ain't tagged me? He's talking about some shit in 2020. Yo, Aiden says, yo, why you bringing this shit up? And I'm trying to tell him, yo, Tylil, you made it, bro, relax. But he keeps saying it, and I'm like, it's all good, whatever. What we do at the end of this, and this is important, me and Tylil exchange numbers. We exchange numbers. This gonna mean the utmost chat when I get to the end of the story.
That whole interaction became critical for what went down next because it positioned Tylil as someone with real reasons to talk to Academics, someone security would see as just another creator instead of any kind of danger. It also set up the perfect situation for K-Rich's scheme. Tylil gets through all 8 of Academics' security people because they know his face and figure his approach is legit. He walks straight to Academics' car window and kicks off what looks like a chill conversation, making Academics believe everything's normal and this is just typical industry talk. Here's the crazy part though. While Tylil's got Academics distracted and feeling comfortable, K-Rich is moving in right behind him. Security spots K-Rich walking with Tylil and naturally assumes he's good too since he's rolling with the streamer they already cleared. Nobody second guesses it because Tylil being there basically vouched for K-Rich without Tylil needing to say a word. This is where things get really cold. Academics, feeling totally secure since he thinks he's just chopping it up with another content creator, rolls his car window completely down. He's laid back, probably expecting some quick chat about maybe working together or finishing up their conversation from earlier. Then, in what was obviously planned out, Tylil suddenly backs away from the window, and that's K-Rich's cue. Dude steps right up and smacks DJ Academics clean across the face with what Academics later called a right-handed slap before immediately bolting.
He swings, misses, cause I was kind of like this. He swings into the car, misses, like he hits the shit. They drive off. I'm like, what the f?
I swear to God, right-handed God. I smacked the shot out of you. I smacked the shot out of you. Right-handed God, bro. I smacked the shot out of you.
You smack Academics.
Yes, and then listen. After I smacked him, listen.
Here's what makes Tylil's role even more suspicious though. Academics blew up Tylil's phone that night trying to reach him. We're talking 15 straight calls back to back, but Tylil ghosted completely. Didn't pick up, didn't return any calls, didn't shoot a single text trying to explain the situation or say he had no idea K-Rich was planning on doing that.
I call Tylil. Yo, I'm trying to say, yo, Tylil, what is this? What's up? You try to, I thought we talked, like, you got a problem? Tylil doesn't answer none of my calls.
That's the moment Academics understood he'd been played by someone he assumed was just another creator looking to connect and settle old drama. Swapping numbers earlier wasn't about making peace at all. It was setting up the access that would get used against him. Later on, Academics' crew rolled back to the club trying to track down K-Rich and figure out what really happened. When they pulled up again, his security caught K-Rich posted up in a Lamborghini Urus right next to Tylil, which proved this wasn't some random situation. These two were obviously linked up and had orchestrated the entire setup together.
Hop out the car and go see who the dude swung at us. who he's with. He calls me, yo, he's in a Lambo with Talil. I was just in an argument with Talil at Branford's. He said, you want me to do something? I said, don't do nothing. Come back in the car. He gets back in the car. I said, I'll handle it.
When Academics went live the following day, he was completely losing it. I'm talking a level of rage and emotion we barely ever see from him, even though dude's known for wild reactions. He was furious as hell, calling Lil Baby out by name, swearing he'd destroy his whole career, and making it crystal clear he wasn't letting this go.
Lil Baby, eat it. Because I don't know this, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm getting that Lil Baby, because I've been waiting for this. Can't take it out on I don't know. I'm up tens of millions of dollars taking it out on his boss.
Things got even crazier though. Academics actually got Baby on the phone directly to confront him about the whole incident. Baby's response was so slick and thought out, it almost felt scripted. He handled it flawlessly, acting totally clueless about what Academics was even talking about. Baby was straight up gaslighting him, playing innocent like he had zero involvement in setting the whole thing up.
I felt like backdooring me, I swear to God. And I never swear. See, I just did some shit I won't really never do. Lil Baby and that Talil. Talil for sure. For sure. Because I ain't gonna lie, the disrespect that I'm about to go up off of this I don't know him. But I control this rap game.
The wild part? That was actually a clever, legally safe move because Academics can't really prove Baby orchestrated it, even though everyone on the streets knows the truth. Academics started connecting more dots though, and what came together pointed to something way more planned out than it first seemed. Look at the timing, the level of coordination, the insider info required. This wasn't some heat-of-the-moment situation. This was a full-blown, calculated setup. Break down the brand rescue event first. How'd K-Rich even know Academics would be posted there? How'd he figure out exactly when? He'd be rolling out? How'd he sync up with Talil to catch him at the perfect moment? That takes serious advanced planning and access to Academics' whereabouts and schedule. Then you got the Talil situation that gets shadier the deeper you look. That whole exchange between him and Academics earlier about not getting tagged back in 2020, was that legit beef or just a play to create the opening they'd exploit later? The timing's way too perfect to be random chance. Here's what really sealed it for Academics that this came from the top. The following night, Academics was out at a different club in Miami with Trippie Redd. They were living it up, making it rain, vibing out, when somebody pulled up saying Baby was about to walk in that same spot. That's when Baby's moves got real suspicious. Baby stepped into the club, clocked that Academics was there, and bounced immediately. Didn't hit his VIP area, didn't stick around even for a minute. Soon as he spotted Academics in the building, he was out. Why would Baby dip if he wasn't connected to what went down the previous night? If he really had nothing to do with K-Rich's move, why not just post up and enjoy his night like usual? Him leaving the second he saw Academics proves he knew things would get heated and wanted no parts of that confrontation. But there's even more layers to this. Academics pieced together how this whole thing connects to bigger industry power plays and behind-the-scenes politics most people never witness. That $30,000 Baby's crew paid Academics? That wasn't just about protecting one album rollout. It was a piece of a bigger game plan to shape how the media covered Baby's whole career trajectory.
Lil Baby's team gave me $30,000 for that last album that dropped, and I had to really be neutral and be nice.
When Academics dug into the business angle of all this, he figured out that major labels and artists constantly pay bloggers and media figures for positive press, but they'll also engineer situations to undermine or scare media personalities who get too critical or too influential. Think about the logic here. If you can't control a media figure through money and business deals, what's the next play? Make them think twice through intimidation. And what sends a stronger message than getting them physically violated in a way that proves their protection isn't what they thought it was? When you really analyze what went down, you gotta respect the strategic planning of this whole thing. Even if you're against the approach, this wasn't some emotional, hot-headed reaction. This was methodical, calculated payback that hit multiple targets simultaneously. For one, it told Academics straight up that his online commentary has real-life repercussions. For years, he'd been going off about rappers, feeling safe behind his security and his media status, thinking that shielded him from any physical blowback. This shattered that illusion and showed him he's not bulletproof. 2, it proved to the whole hip-hop world that Baby won't just absorb disrespect, even from influential media figure, in a scene where reputation and respect mean everything. This elevated Baby's street status and demonstrated he'll take chances to protect his name. 3. And this is the smartest angle. Baby got his revenge while keeping himself legally distanced from it. He never gave explicit orders, never directly instructed K. Rich to make any specific moves. He simply didn't inform his circle that the tension was squashed. That's some advanced strategic thinking right there. Keeping his involvement technically unproven while still getting the result he wanted, Baby safeguarded himself legally while accomplishing his objective of hitting back at academics. That's the type of calculated approach you see from top-tier business executives and political operatives. Reaching your goals through indirect channels that can't be definitively linked to you. What makes it even more tactically impressive? Using Tylo as someone who didn't know the real plan was genius. By bringing in someone from academic sphere, someone with valid reasons to approach him, they manufactured the perfect opportunity for K. Rich to close the distance and strike. Academic's biggest tool has always been his platform and narrative control, so his counter was threatening to leverage that power to tank Baby's career. He went even harder on Baby after this, attacking everything from his music to his business moves to his private life. But check this out, the incident actually damaged Academic's standing in certain ways. Before it happened, he could position himself as this unreachable media powerhouse who could speak freely without facing consequences. Now everybody knows he's vulnerable, his security has gaps, and there are artists ready to take physical action against him. For Baby, this play was dangerous, but could pay off big. He demonstrated to the hip-hop world he's not to be tested, but he also made himself a focus for law enforcement and potentially other media figures who might view him as dangerous. If this whole wild situation taught you something, hit that like button and drop in the comments what you think about Baby's approach. Was it warranted, or did he cross the line? Alright, let's break down what happened with Yella Beezy. Things are getting complicated fast. A filing came through on the 22nd that changed the trajectory of this entire situation. The document centers around a 404(b)(2) motion connected to allegations being used as supporting evidence. Essentially, this legal maneuver is attempting to block the state from introducing or suggesting any previous conduct that doesn't meet the legal threshold under TRF 43 and 404(b)(2). Beezy's attorneys submitted this request to the court, demanding they prevent prosecutors from bringing prior actions into the proceedings. They're pushing for this protection to extend across jury selection, trial proceedings, and both opening and closing arguments unless the court specifically permits it otherwise. This is a calculated move to restrict what can be presented. The motion goes further, requesting the court establish clear guidelines regarding how evidence gets introduced and utilized. That part deserves closer examination, because things start getting really interesting there. The documentation reveals something significant. Beezy faced capital charges on March 18th. That's serious. However, the situation takes an unexpected turn. When the state submitted discovery materials, there were statements from law enforcement and certain witnesses suggesting Beezy might have connections to particular incidents. But here's the critical part. There's no actual evidence establishing any link to those situations, or whatever evidence exists cannot legally be admitted. This case continues to escalate in complexity. It's filled with secondhand information piled on top of more secondhand information. Beezy's legal team worries the prosecution intends to reference unsolved feud-related cases during the guilt phase of trial. These are situations never officially resolved, yet prosecutors might attempt to use them anyway. That's problematic. But what follows is even more troubling. The motion references something documented on September 25th, 2018, involving Roy Lee. According to the paperwork, an unknown individual contacted Roy Lee attempting to arrange some kind of event. Initially straightforward enough. Then, circumstances shifted dramatically when Roy Lee was apparently in a vehicle near 12,835 Preston Road in Dallas. That's when the situation escalated significantly. This part opens numerous questions. Who initiated the contact? What actually transpired that day? How does it connect to Beezy's present charges? During that incident, someone in a hoodie approached the car and damaged the driver's side door. Roy Lee sustained an injury to his leg and was transported to the hospital for medical attention. He couldn't identify his attacker. After his release on September 30th, 2018, medical professionals advised him to rest and avoid strenuous activity. Instead, he performed at a comedy venue in Paris, Texas. Shortly after, on October 13, 2018, tragedy occurred. Roy Lee died in his hotel room from a blood clot that traveled from his injured leg to his heart. That's devastating. Before his death, Roy Lee reportedly informed investigators about a year-long conflict with Beasley. According to him, the tension started following a club altercation in 2018, where one of Beasley's security personnel allegedly struck him during the commotion. Roy Lee claimed he was assaulted at that club by PMG, a group affiliated with Beasley. Since that event, friction existed between them. The situation escalated further. He'd apparently been attempting to organize a charity boxing competition with Beasley to resolve their differences. When the incident occurred, speculation emerged connecting it to their existing animosity. Law enforcement received information suggesting Kais Barrett, known as KD, and identified as Beasley's cousin, potentially participated, and that Beasley allegedly transferred $4,000 to him following his prison release. However, when authorities investigated thoroughly, discovered insufficient evidence linking the feud to the specific incident. Officials acknowledged rumors and speculation existed, but nothing substantiated in concrete terms. Roy Lee wasn't some street operator. He was a comedian known for entertainment. While he came from a challenging neighborhood in Dallas, that circumstance alone doesn't automatically place him in criminal activity. Had he been involved, he likely would have admitted it, though that would constitute what some call dry snitching, which most people avoid. Here's what raises questions for everyone. How did law enforcement even learn about the supposed $4,000 transferred to KD? Where did that information surface? Perhaps through social media posts or other means. Nobody knows definitively, but it's not uncommon for individuals to support family members transitioning out of incarceration. People don't leave prison with financial resources, so assisting a relative with modest funds isn't unusual. Let's move to the subsequent shocking incident. This one's equally disturbing. It involves Beasley and occurred on October 14, 2018. According to documentation, Beasley was operating a vehicle on the Sam Rabin Tollway when another car pulled alongside and discharged firearms. Multiple bullets struck his vehicle. He managed to exit traffic before paramedics took him to the hospital. That's frightening. Beasley stated to police he couldn't identify the shooter. Detective Howard from Dallas PD later contacted a detective in Louisville, mentioning that Beasley had recently finalized a significant recording contract and suggesting this shooting might connect to the existing tension with Roy Lee. Yet no official suspects came forward. When individuals broadcast information online, mentioning names, arguing publicly, documenting everything, it becomes straightforward for investigators to construct timelines and connections. According to Detective Howard, Roy Lee maintained habits of publicly calling out music, industry figures, supposedly to gain attention and raise his own visibility. But honestly, that assertion feels like overreach. Not everyone pursues attention. Then, the situation intensifies. The vehicle's registration traced back to Shaw Griffin, reportedly connected to Melvin Noble, better known as Mo 3. That's a significant figure in Dallas. The document implies Mo 3 might have had some involvement, basically indicating his associates could have participated. Interestingly, approximately 2 years earlier, Beasley and Roy Lee experienced that club incident, after which things seemingly quieted down. Silence continued until Beasley secured his record deal, when hostilities reportedly resumed escalating. Roy Lee allegedly started publicly revisiting their earlier conflict, possibly attempting to capitalize on renewed attention. Beasley informed detectives he held no desire to press charges if someone faced arrest. He preferred keeping the matter private and managing resolution independently. That's maintaining street credibility. Consider how serious this could have become. Had Mo 3's associates been definitively tied to the shooting, circumstances might have developed dramatically differently. The vehicle belonged to someone connected to Mo 3, yet no evidence proved he was operating it. Consequently, authorities lacked sufficient evidence establishing culpability. Presumably, when police questioned him, he exercised his right to silence. Remaining quiet became his choice because once individuals begin speaking, circumstances become distorted rapidly. Staying silent leaves investigators struggling to assemble evidence themselves. And that's simply how situations develop. Your responsibility isn't constructing their prosecution. Now circumstances become increasingly complex. Let's examine February 6, 2018, an incident involving Darius Moore, recognized as Trap Boy Freddy. Reports indicate he and 3 companions were exiting a party vehicle at a residence on 4906 Rain Avenue in Dallas when a vehicle suddenly appeared and unleashed gunfire, wounding multiple individuals. That's shocking. the men couldn't identify their assailant and declined pursuing charges. However, here's the complication. Rumors circulated that Beezy possessed some indirect connection, with speculation suggesting Trap Boy Freddy orchestrated the entire situation. Yet, investigators never uncovered any concrete evidence connecting Beezy to that situation. Nothing substantiated. How did that information even surface? If everything derives from street gossip and hearsay, that constitutes weak evidence for building a prosecution. You cannot construct a credible case on rumors and conjecture. Someone must have initiated that rumor circulation, though. That's precisely why Trap Boy Freddy subsequently faced questioning. Officials wanted exploring potential connections between him and that incident. The prosecution aims presenting all this information to jurors, stacking incident after
incident like mounting accusation. Their narrative frames Beezy as connected to Roy Lee's situation, with his cousin potentially participating and him subsequently facing attacks from Mo 3 associates. They want jurors questioning why he didn't cooperate with police if innocent, but sometimes silence doesn't signify guilt. It simply means avoiding deeper entanglement in unnecessary circumstances. They're attempting introducing yet another case, creating 3 separate situations, but the complications don't conclude there. Let's examine what transpired in 2019 involving James "Bubba" Browning. According to reports, Browning occupied an exterior area at the Dixon Grocery Convenience Store, located at 3752 Dixon Avenue in Dallas, when disaster happened. He wasn't conducting transactions inside. He was simply standing outside, existing peacefully. Surveillance captured 2 masked individuals exiting a van and discharging rifles at Browning before departing. Investigators subsequently discovered Browning had formerly been arrested alongside Joseph Arnold and Deshaun Smith, both regarded as persons of interest in a separate investigation involving Marlo Marshall. All 3 allegedly worked with Marshall previously. The situation became increasingly tangled. A witness told officers they recognized one surveillance footage figure as resembling Arnold and Smith, and mentioned street talk suggesting Marshall had received threats before his passing. Following that, Arnold faced arrest regarding Marshall's case. Here's where Beezy's name resurfaces. Another witness reportedly shared information with detectives about street discussions, indicating Trap Boy Freddy and Beezy maintained problems with Mo 3. People began suggesting an organized plan existed against him. Yet here's the contradiction. No evidence substantiates Beezy's involvement in Mo 3's death. The state appears contradicting its own argument. Consider it. They're suggesting Trap Boy Freddy faced targeting by Beezy's group. Then supposedly Freddy and his associates targeted Mo 3, with both Freddy and Beezy allegedly placing bounties on him. But if accurate, why was Trap Boy Freddy summoned as a witness instead of a defendant? That lacks coherence. The narrative keeps shifting contradictorily. Let's transition to another investigation. This one occurred September 29th, 2020. It concerned a man named DeJuan Spikes, who suffered injuries at a residence located at 6910 Roe Hill Road in Dallas. The location appeared operating as a distribution hub. Authorities discovered currency, controlled substances, and even a short rifle at the location. The individual responsible turned out to be Randall Yungeen Hunter. Surveillance captured his Dodge Charger departing the vicinity immediately following the incident. Investigators examined his mobile communications and discovered information and proof connecting him directly to the situation. He eventually acknowledged guilt and received a 20-year sentence. That's an extended period. Rumors subsequently emerged claiming Beezy and Spikes maintained some previous disagreement. But once again, no evidence suggested Beezy participated in what occurred or maintained involvement with Spikes' operations. Simply another claim lacking substantiation. Just when intensity seemed maximized, another situation requires examination. The July 6, 2020 incident involved Robert Gaia. Based on reports, Gaia experienced critical injuries while driving on Central Expressway. Robert Gaia survived the assault, though he sustained significant neurological injuries. According to his companion's statement to Dallas detectives, Gaia had been conducting a relationship with another individual without her awareness. She acknowledged placing a monitoring device on his vehicle, though it stopped functioning before the incident. She additionally mentioned Gaia's close associate had died in Oak Cliff merely 2 weeks prior, and she'd encountered a rap group possibly, referenced as Mo, or using the hashtag, who released music referencing that death. That's extraordinary. The companion told detectives Gaia maintained no gang membership and harbored no intentions regarding retaliation for his associate's death. He concentrated on music creation and personal matters. Another person named Rochelle Myers, who accompanied Gaia during the incident, told detectives the situation possibly connected to some disagreement existing within the rap community. Myers even displayed police with a YouTube video featuring Melvin Noble, recognized as Mo3, performing material supposedly referencing Drow and Duck. That recording, according to her, appeared connected to continuing disputes between various Dallas musicians. Then, based on the report, Myers continued stating that Darius Moore, known as Trap Boy Freddy, maintained friendship with Beezy and Gaia, had produced music alongside both individuals. Subsequently, Mo3 apparently released material referencing that situation, the one where Beezy experienced injury. It appeared everyone throughout the local music community was incorporating each other's conflicts into their recordings. However, detectives rejected Myers' interpretation. Detective Howard from DPD even communicated to Richardson PD officers that he disbelieved MO3 bore personal responsibility for the incident, despite MO3 apparently making references through his lyric. Ultimately, both related incidents remained without confirmed perpetrators. Additionally, another situation followed shortly thereafter, the September 7, 2020 incident concerning Trap Boy Freddy himself. Reports indicate he was at a filling station inflating his tires when a vehicle passed and discharged gunfire, striking him in the leg. Trap Boy Freddy couldn't identify his shooter and provided no vehicle description. He additionally resisted providing significant information to authority. Following hospitalization, that reaction doesn't surprise anyone. Several days after, on September 10, 2020, a Richardson PD detective became aware of the incident in Los Angeles and reached out to Detective Howard from DPD. The detective reported that Trap Boy Freddy and his associates maintained so many adversaries and conflicts with various individuals that establishing who was targeting whom became nearly impossible. That constitutes a striking acknowledgement. It demonstrates how complicated and unpredictable the environment had deteriorated. Here's the point where the prosecution's narrative becomes increasingly sensationalized. They're positioning Yella Beezy as some orchestrating figure, claiming he coordinated situations, arranged attacks against others, and himself experienced targeting from Mo3's associates. Fundamentally, prosecutors construct a portrayal depicting unending conflict and retaliation spanning Dallas musicians. According to their framework, if Beezy and Roy Lee harbored earlier animosity, it logically follows that Beezy might have subsequently pursued Mo3. But again, nothing substantiates this. Everything rests on documentary suggestions, not factual verification. The paperwork creates appearance of pattern, but nothing concretely establishes connection. Additionally, the prosecution's methodology seems genuinely questionable. It resembles a game determining disclosure timing and information revelation. You comprehend Beezy's team seeking delays, envision proceeding to trial, and discovering particulars that warranted knowledge months earlier. That establishes groundwork for mistakes and confusion. Ultimately, nobody wants presenting arguments to judges regarding information never previously clarified. Every component proves essential, and overlooking solitary details potentially revolutionizes jury perception completely. I comprehend frustration with commentary stating, "This trial continues indefinitely." Honestly, that criticism possesses validity. Multiple people feel this situation warranted resolution previously. However, simultaneously, the district attorney's department appears deliberately stalling, remaining passive rather than advancing momentum. Since no enforceable speedy trial requirement constrains them, they maintain unlimited timeline flexibility. That's precisely their approach. They're experiencing minimal pressure, pursuing aggressive sentencing if their prosecution foundation isn't absolutely reliable from currently accessible materials. The available proof doesn't provide prosecutors apparent advantage. Realistically, it makes DPD appear unmotivated. They possessed opportunities establishing arrests before escalation occurred this extensively, yet they apparently didn't prioritize speed. It's not resource shortage. Gang divisions, specialized teams, detectives, constables, state personnel, and municipal departments all theoretically maintain oversight responsibility. Yet, identical discord perpetually resurfaces. What's remarkable is how this street conflict discourse extends beyond merely performers and their organizations. It encompasses countless average citizens attempting displaying strength or sustaining relevance within that framework. It's a repeating mechanism continuously reinforcing itself while resources and public finances experience depletion. You've got multiple agencies concentrating effort on identical matters rather than meaningfully resolving fundamental problems. Should authorities truly desire accountability, they'd operate strategically, not simply detaining individuals contingent upon social connections or geographic origin. The community isn't requesting preferential treatment. They're seeking impartiality. The public genuinely should harbor frustration currently because circumstances develop spiraling uncontrollably. MO3, Trap Boy Freddy, and Yella Beezy all warranted comprehensive questioning, long preceding current severity. Sufficient warning indicators demanded earlier engagement. Certain individuals will argue it wouldn't have mattered, they wouldn't have cooperated anyway. Perhaps truthfully. Nevertheless, what that accomplishes involves pressuring everybody involved. It communicates that authorities observe circumstances. Understand, we recognize what's happening. Assume you're unobserved. Any misstep and you're reassuming scrutiny. That's how you convey municipal engagement. What creates confusion involves how frameworks perpetually enable progression this extensively before reacting, particularly when capital and authority consistently factor significantly. It experiences like specific situations attain recognition when politically or financially beneficial. This particular aspect generates substantial frustration because law enforcement departments merchandise narratives identically to everybody else. They absolutely recognize annual budgetary allocations. They're cognizant regarding which administrators require satisfaction maintaining overtime authorization or supplementary funding. Meanwhile, finances potentially redirected preventing violence or investigating historical situations get consumed addressing non-essential overtime and administrative work. Instead of intervening early, establishing firm boundaries, they await circumstances spiraling unmanageable, subsequently appearing astonished at developments.